Hi there, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Roundtable. With me today, we've got Dan.
Oh, hello.
And we will be previewing Championship Sunday. So, one of the strangest Championship Sundays I think we'll ever see. Have you ever seen a set of title games with such a strange QB lineup? Other than Brady, the usual suspect.
Yeah, it's the greatest of all time versus Blake Bortles.
And a couple of career backups.
Yeah, and career backup number 1 versus career backup number 2.
Yeah, that's the NFC title game for you. Before we get into the games, do you think the right teams are here? In terms of over the course of the season?
No.
And I'm guessing by that you mean the Jags in particular.
I 100% mean the Jags.
Well, I mean, defensively, they are what they are. But is it just this offense?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time an atrocious offense has managed to get almost all the way off the strength of the defense.
There's been some more atrocious offenses that have won it all. Great defenses.
Yeah, but the problem is, though, when you're looking through the AFC...
And you say atrocious, they are the number 1 running team in the league.
Well, when you don't trust your quarterback to throw 2 yards, that's going to happen.
You've still got to be able to run the ball effectively, though.
Either way, I mean, it's the only thing they can do, so, it's not hard.
It depends what Bortles turns up. That you might get competent Bortles. When he's competent, I do think this team is very good. It's just his propensity for hitting self-destruct is there.
Yeah.
I mean, the Eagles, to me, aren't the right team just because of that injury. With Wentz, I do believe they are probably the best team in the NFL this season.
What, the Eagles?
Yeah, I think with a healthy Carson Wentz, I think they were the best team left in the playoffs, or they'd be the best team in the playoffs. They'd be my favourites to win the whole thing. But what we've seen from Nick Foles since he replaced him, yeah, for me, the correct NFC Championship game would have been the game we had last week with the Saints and Vikings. And I think we saw over the course of that matchup, after the Week 1 blowout, that those two teams were very evenly matched.
See, the problem is I kind of have to go back on my Jacksonville don't deserve to be there, because I've just looked through the AFC teams and I've gone, nope, the AFC's full of trash. Well,
I mean, it should... The other two teams I could make an argument probably should be there.
Steelers?
Would be Steelers, of course, but, they did what they do, and I think they were very much looking ahead to the Patriots, and it cost them. Slow start in that one. Weren't able to pull off a comeback, and I don't know how you give up 45 points to a Blake Bortles team. I just don't get it. And I'd say the Chargers, my great disappointment of the season, because that 0-4 start just killed them.
Oh yeah, in the end, but no, yeah. Aside from that, there are no other teams. There are no other teams in the AFC that deserve to be here. I mean, AFC East, just the Patriots. AFC North, well, the Steelers were idiots, but the AFC North's trash anyway. AFC South, still the worst division in football. And the AFC West, Chargers messed it up early. I would have said Kansas, but again, it's an Andy Reid team in the playoffs. We've been here before.
Well, I mean, we saw how sort of some key injuries end up killing that team. I think that their season could have been very different if Eric Berry hadn't got injured in Week 1.
I was going to bring that up, and I 100% agree. Although, by the way, I disagree with the Eagles being the best team in football.
No, you Vikings or Pats?
Vikings.
I do like that team. It would be the game of the year if Carson Wentz was playing this weekend, but alas, that is not the case. So we'll hop into the AFC matchup first. So we've got the Patriots hosting the AFC title game for the bajillionth time of the Belichick-Brady era. And they host the surprise Jacksonville Jags, who most people had finishing bottom of that division heading into this year, including myself. So, yeah, they showed us. What are your first thoughts on this one, on paper?
I see no reason for the Jags to be able to do what many other defenses and, you know, over the years, really great defenses also haven't been able to do. I mean, there's nothing Jacksonville possess over, say, that Seattle defense.
There is one thing.
Are you going to say Coughlin?
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say Coughlin.
Because it is. It's like Brady Kryptonite.
Yes, but he's not the head coach.
He's not, but this team is built defensively very similarly to what those teams were.
Yeah.
So,
but
if there's one thing that gives them a chance, it is that.
But the thing is, though, is arguably one of the patch strengths this year has been the utilising of the backfield and those running backs.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville are pretty bad against the run this year.
But it's not the utilisation of the run. What the Jags have suffered against somewhat is teams pounding it, with power run games up the middle. I wouldn't even say they've struggled, but if there's one way to get at this defence, it's been that. And the Jags, but the Jags match up quite well with what the Patriots do offensively with the running backs, all the passing out of the backfield. Their linebackers, Miles Jack and Telvin Smith, are both good in coverage.
Yeah, but
now, if they can isolate Posluszny, that's definitely a matchup they can take advantage of.
Yeah, the problem they've got is dealing with Gronk.
That's always a problem, yeah.
I mean, I know Jacksonville are good defensively against the pass, but this is, when was I can't remember the last time we saw a healthy Gronkowski in the playoffs.
It's been, outside of last week, it's been a while.
Yeah. And Jalen Ramsey can run his mouth all he wants, but he's not going to be on Gronk. And if he is, it's an easy matchup all day.
No, Ramsey's big.
Gronk's bigger.
It's not Gronk big, but it would be. I do hope that matchup happens. Would be a lot of fun. To be honest, I think it's probably the right way to go if you're Jacksonville. I think AJ Bouye can line up on Brandon Cooks, and as skeptical as I was about the Bouye signing, he was great this year. So,
but
that one worked out.
This is a first, for all intents and purposes, this is a first year put together defense.
Yep.
Going up against the greatest of all time, who has seen it all before.
He has, but if we go, you look at the matchup, he does best. It's play very physical with wideouts, and the last team that did that was the team that beat the Patriots in the last time they lost in the playoffs, and that was the Broncos. I think those two teams are built somewhat similarly, where you've got a dominating pass rush. You don't need to bring too many guys, particularly with the edge rushers that they've got, because they've got fantastic depth all across that front four. And then they've got a couple of really talented press man corners on the outside. So they can do a lot of those same things.
I don't know.
If we start breaking it down, the problem is the Patriots, and if there's one thing that's going to give this Jags defense an advantage, it's this offensive line, particularly at the tackle spot, where they have not been great this year.
No, but we've seen time and time again that obviously the old adage is, if you pressure Brady, he's not as good as he should be. But the problem is
it's not pressuring. It's pressuring Brady with 4.
Yeah,
that's what you've got to be able to do, and the Jags can do that, and I think they will.
But we've seen time and time again when this has happened in the past. They'll just switch it up to either a no huddle game or
Well, they'll go to a quick passing game. Now, the no-huddle game is an option, but over the course of the game...
I think that's going to be their best option.
I don't think it's a great option over the course of the game.
Why not?
The Jags have far better depth than most teams. And when you're playing no-huddle, it's because you don't want substitutions to be made. And, all right, you can tire a team out. But when you've got as much depth as the Jags do, I don't think you're really affecting them as much as you would another team. You're just opening your team up to making potential mistakes.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, if you're the Patriots, in a sense, you want to get up and down the field and score as quickly as possible, so the defense has as little impact as possible. And then you've got your defense and the greatest defensive mind in football almost ever against Blake Bortles.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen the struggles they've had at the tackle position this year. Marcus Cannon, Nate Solder have not been great.
That's going to be a problem.
Calais Campbell, who has been absolutely dominant all year long. Dante Fowler, and that Yannick Ngakoue is one of the most unheralded players in the league, but he is an exceptional speed rusher.
The thing is, though, if you want to...
Middle, you can play Campbell there. Malik Jackson had a really good season. Marcel Darius. There's just a lot of options. I think the thing that the Pats are going to struggle to do offensively is be able to utilize Gronk and Brandon Cooks particularly effectively. They're the two main weapons on that team, in my opinion, because I don't think they're going to have the time consistently to look for them.
I don't know. I mean, it's the Patriots in the playoffs. Belichick changes his game plan every other game, so...
He does, and if you look at how you've got to think, how would they attack the Jags? So if you look at the Jags' potential weaknesses, you're looking at running. That, to some degree, to me, plays into the Jags' hands because they're the team that wants to shorten this game. The Jags are going to be running the ball heavily on offense. So if you're the Patriots, you're somewhat assisting them with that. Obviously, you're taking the ball out of Brady's hands somewhat. They'll go to that quick passing game. I do think the Jags are efficient enough to be able to, at the linebacker spot, to cover a lot of that stuff. I think they can do so. But Smith and Jack are exceptional.
But the thing is, though, is the opposite also remains true. That this is you're facing a Jaguars team that realistically you only have to put 10 points up on to beat with no turnovers.
We'll get to the Jags offense shortly, and it does depend heavily on what version of them turns up. For me, the key matchup that I think could be an issue is just the slot receiver, especially if they're going to go with Jalen Ramsey on Gronk, which I do believe they should do. I honestly feel it's their best option at stopping him. And then you put Bouye on Cooks. Then you've just got to worry about Chris Hogan and Danny Amendola, and whilst they're both fine players, they're not going to beat this defense on their own.
No, but we've seen in the past that, kind of neglecting New England slot receivers often means you've lost the game.
Well, it still has to be. There still has to be something else there. The amount of success this run game can have, I think, will be key. Dion Lewis has been exceptional for the last few weeks. I mean,
and
playing at a very high level. Yeah, well, White's there for his receiving prowess, and we'll see Burkhead getting goal line carries, the usual sort of attack from the Pats. That has to be successful because, to me, if they're going to line up straight up, I honestly think this Jags defense is more talented and will win the matchup over the day. It's going to be, if they can get this run going, then they can start to put some pressure on the Jags defense. And I'm not sure the usual dinky dunk style of passing game that opens things up for the Patriots. I don't think that's the way to go here. I think
the thing is, though, is how many times has this defense been truly tested this year against a QB?
Well, both the games against the Steelers.
With the exception of the Steelers, who are idiots, I don't think they faced any elite QBs.
What divisions did they play this year? Played AFC. They played the North. So no particularly great shakes there. What NFC division did they play? You remember off the top of your head? Yeah. Was it the West? Well, the Rams.
I said elite QBs.
Goff was one this year. And it's not just about QBs. If you're going to use that argument, they played Roethlisberger twice. They beat him. Now, last week did show that you can get at this Jags defense with a pass, but I wouldn't read too much into it because I have seen people say, "Oh, well, Ben torched them." Ben had one of the best halves I've seen. Like, they were ridiculous throws and catches that were being made on this team. It's not like the defense was getting gashed on a lot of these plays. I think other than Antonio Brown's first touchdown where there was a bust in coverage, they didn't throw to the bust. They threw to the guy that was well covered.
Oh, well, actually, look, there you go. Out of the teams they faced this year with good quarterbacks.
No, they beat Russell Wilson as well, yeah.
Well, hold on. They lost to the Rams. They narrowly beat the Chargers because Chargers do Chargers things. They lost to the Cardinals with what's his name? Not Carson Palmer, the other one. Then they got beaten by the Niners.
Were these games on the defense? Because a lot of these losses were on the offense.
Well, either way, the point is they haven't faced Brady. They haven't faced anyone even close to Brady's caliber this year, so we don't know.
I'd say Roethlisberger had a season that wasn't far behind Brady's.
Yeah, but the problem is
Roethlisberger started the year a bit slow, but I'd say November, December he was playing at a higher level.
Yeah, but the problem is the Steelers' defense decided to take a nap, and the Patriots are a lot of things, but that defense has come up aces since.
But the one thing that the Steelers had last week, and this is the thing the Patriots don't. The Steelers have an exceptional offensive line. The Patriots don't.
Yeah, but they're going to make adjustments. They always do.
Maybe, but I do feel the Jags do have an edge on this side.
Well, put it this way.
The
way I think this is going to work out, if New England win, and this is how this is going to work out, if New England win fairly comfortably against this passing D, they'll win the Super Bowl. If they narrowly win, and they struggle against the pass D, and they end up facing Minnesota in the Super Bowl, Minnesota will win it.
Well, you never know. But you look at the other side of the ball. This is, of course, the big question mark if you are Jacksonville. Which version of this offense turns up? Now, we know it's going to be a run-heavy attack. Even if Brady wasn't on the sidelines, that's how they do things. It's going to be... The biggest question mark is how healthy Leonard Fournette's ankle is. He didn't look the same player in the second half after running wild on the Steelers
the thing is,
in the first 30 minutes. And this offense goes through him.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen this? A team that's so heavily built in one direction on the offense faces the Patriots and Bill Belichick, takes away the running game, does everything he can, and force him to pass. If they get to the point where they're forcing Blake Bortles to win with his arm because the running game's shut down, they're spying Bortles so he can't scramble. They're forcing him to throw. New England are walking away with this.
Well, this is where the matchup's going to be key. Like, the Jags' defense is going to have to do its job and hold this game close. Bortles is, of course, it goes without saying, but definitely cannot have one of his turnover-prone games. Absolutely not. If the game is close, the Jags can utilise that run game. And the Patriots were strong against the run last week, but the Titans haven't been an elite running team. The Jags are, and they can attack these guys very effectively, particularly on outside runs, where I do not feel the Patriots have done a great job for large chunks of this year. Fournette's got the burst to get outside. I think the linebacker position's been an issue in New England for a while. I do think this run game can do some damage. It's just this passing game. And New England's going to stack the run. That's how they're going to do things. If they get a lead, then they'll switch out of that entirely and they'll go into, then they'll enter the mode where they're just daring Bortles to throw it into tight windows. If it gets to that point, I don't trust Bortles to do it. I don't trust these receivers to get open against this defensive scheme. However, the Patriots defense is one that wins with scheme rather than individual talent. So you know, we're going to see a lot of 8-man boxes. You'll just see McCourty floating over the top, Chung in the box with those guys. I think Hightower is going to be used very aggressively. Corners match up well. It just will come down to Bortles. You know, he'll have the opportunities whilst the game is close to get outside. He's been very effective with his legs the last couple of games, particularly in these playoffs. And he's made some decent... Last week, he made the throws when they were needed in the second off play action. A lot of them were easy throws because the Steelers were selling out against the run. If the Patriots do something similar, if they get the good version of Bortles, he may be able to punish them. I'm not enormously confident that that happens. I think the Patriots' game plan will be simple, and I think it will likely work. The Jags, fortunately for Belichick, they're very predictable in how they operate offensively, and that will work in their advantage. So when I put the whole sort of game together, I do see the Patriots winning. And the main reason for that is the Jags, I just feel like that Bortles is going to make a mistake at some point. I can't see him necessarily playing 2 clean games in a row against opponents of this caliber. The Patriots, much like you mentioned, I don't see them giving the soft start. And basically, they got a head start last week from the Steelers team that just went in somewhat arrogant, if you ask me. And as a result, they got punished. Yeah, the Patriots won't do... I can't see that happening. So yeah, I think more likely than not, the Patriots get a lead at some point off of a Bortles turnover or just good field position as this offense bogs down, forces Bortles to play catch up, and that ends up a disaster. However, if the Jags are to win, it will be because they can pound the ball. You know, I think getting first possession for them is huge. If they can get first possession like they did last week, get down the field and score and play with a lead, then I think they can put a lot of pressure on this team. One thing's for sure, I don't see Brady throwing an enormous amount of passes in this game.
I don't know.
I really don't. I think you'll see a lot of respect paid to this Jacksonville pass rush.
Yeah, possibly, but I also expect that, depending how it goes, if he feels the pass rush isn't getting there as it should be, I can see him just lighting them up like he did against Tennessee. Oh
yeah, if he's got time, but Tennessee's pass rush is nowhere near the caliber of this one.
No, but this is going to be Jacksonville's first true test all season.
I wouldn't say first true test.
Yes.
Heading to Pittsburgh last week was a test. Pittsburgh failed the test, but it was a test.
Yeah, I mean, it's not much of a test when your opponent's not even doing anything.
I don't think that's given enough respect to some of the opposition they've had this year. They went into Seattle and got a win as well, even if this year's version of Seattle was a...
Ooh, they beat up on NFC... A
broken team.
Yeah, ooh, those NFC West teams, ooh, shaking in the boots.
Oh. So yeah, we've both got the Pats. However, I can see the Jags pulling the upset. Okay. It's not as impossible as people are making out. We saw the Giants do it. I think this team's probably more talented than those Giants teams were. The difference is I had more faith in Eli than I do in Bortles. And I don't have a huge amount of faith in Eli. So take that as you will. The NFC Championship game, on the other hand, I think this one is going to be a fairly brutal affair. I think, yeah, if you were going to look at my defensive rankings for the year, I'd say Minnesota were the best defense this year. The Jags were the second best defense. I'd have had the Eagles at number 3. So, yeah, we've got 2 backup quarterbacks against 2 elite defenses. It's going to be interesting. What side of the ball do you want to start with first?
Well, we'll start with the Vikings offense. I trust Keenum more than Foles.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the...
And Keenum, obviously... The thing is, though, you've got to look at it this way. Keenum has the advantage of he may have been a backup, but he's had all year playing with these guys now. Foles has had one game.
Yeah. No, he's had more than one. He's had 3 or 4.
Whatever. My point is, the Vikings have the edge in this.
Well, I mean, if you look at the Vikings offense, I mean they're hyper efficient. They're the closest thing to the old West Coast Joe Montana style of offense. It's a lot of Stephon Diggs in particular. You see most of his catches are drag routes, short ins, that kind of thing. Rudolph, catching quick outs, posting up, on curls. That's kind of the prime thing. You tend to only really see Thielen catching a lot of the deep passes or intermediate passes. They don't really go deep too often. But they've got an excellent receiver out the backfield in McKinnon. There's a decent amount of options there. Thielen is just a top player. And I think he really does enable us to go. I like the balance they've got in the run game. I've mentioned this the last few weeks, but Murray, he's not an exceptional player, but he's solid, and he the McKinnon and Murray combination, they just complement each other well. The issue I have with this Vikings offense heading into this matchup is their offensive line has overperformed. I don't think they're as talented as they've played, which is a testament to them. But they do play a very quick passing game, so they don't get hung out to dry in pass protection too often. And they're a solid running team, but they're not an exceptional one. This week they have to go up against an absolutely brutal front four. And for my money, in terms of just the starters, if you don't include depth, and they've got depth, it's the most talented group in the league. Timmy Jernigan, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Vinny Curry is depth. Yeah, they've even got depth there as well. And Fletcher Cox has just been an absolute monster this year. He's a guy that doesn't really get talked about enough, because if you're looking at defensive MVP candidates, this is a guy that you could easily have mentioned. For me, he's just an absolute game wrecker. Brandon Graham, similarly, one of the best players in the league on the edge, but because he doesn't get the sack numbers, he doesn't necessarily get the recognition. But these guys are all, you've got two utterly dominant players and two very good players alongside them. I think it's going to be very, very tough sledding for these guys to block them. What we're going to need to see from the Vikings is something Keenum's been great at this year. I mean, he's been shockingly elusive in the pocket. I don't know where all this came from.
Yeah, it has been odd.
It's like a terribly unathletic looking version of Russell Wilson. It's been very impressive, but it's going to be tough against these guys. For the Vikings to be successful, I don't think they're going to have to put a lot of points on the board. Fortunately for them, with Carson Wentz not playing and the quality of their defense as a whole, that shouldn't be an issue. They're going to have to stay balanced, though. I still feel like this Philly secondary can be got at. Corner play, it isn't convincing, particularly who's the fellow they acquired from Buffalo? Ronald Darby. He can be had, particularly on double moves. I would love to see Thielen, maybe running a sluggo, some kind of double move on him at some point in the game, because I feel like you'll get an opportunity there. But I think they're going to have to play a balanced game. They're going to have to run the ball, even though I don't see them having much success with it. They're going to have to keep doing so just to keep this defense honest, because if these four guys can just pass rush all day, even with the quick passing, I think they'll be able to handle them. And I do think that the Philly linebackers have been exceptional all year. They cover pretty well. The matchup you'd want to look for me is on the outside, where the corner position hasn't been adequately tested, in my opinion. I still think it's a weakness on this team. Wait till you pull Jenkins up in the box, then go deep. That's my plan of attack. And also, I expect to see a lot of rollouts, a lot of sort of moving pockets for Keenum to get him on the run. Because if he's a stationary target, I do feel like these pass rushers will tee off on him.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I don't know. That Eagles front four is a pain in the arse. I mean, playing well, it's similar to what we were talking about with Jacksonville and the Patriots, but playing a short passing game may be probably the best option. And unlike Brady, you can roll Keenum out a lot.
Well, I don't. It's not that I think it's the best option. It's just it's what they do. It's what is going to happen. I just feel like they're going to need to try and go deep. Who knows what the weather's going to be like in Philly on Sunday? If it was in the dome, I'd feel a lot more comfortable saying that that's something they can do. But I mean, if you're Philly, I think you play fairly conservatively defensively. I really do. I would just trust my guys to play zone for the majority of this game. Just keep those safeties back. Keep the Vikings in front of you and just dare them. You know, the Vikings are happy to try and have these, 10, 11, 12 play drives. Just let them. Let them and trust the quality of your front seven to make plays. That's how I'd approach it. Just don't create situations where you can get beat over the top. And I think the Eagles will be able to hold them to a fairly low score.
And then you've got the other problem when you flip the ball.
Yeah. So if we look at the other side of the ball, you look at the Philly offense. The line, even with Jason Peters, being a massive loss, that's one they're very much used to at this point in the season. The rest of the offensive line's very good, particularly Lane Johnson on the right-hand side. There's going to be a great match because it's one of the better offensive from this season against a great defensive line. Everson Griffin, I'm sure he'll be the left tackle for most of this game. Linval Joseph has a really good matchup in the middle. At least good to watch because Kelsey, the centre for the Eagles, he's had a great season. So those two will have a great battle in there. Look forward to seeing that. The Eagles are going to have to, offensively, they'll go with the game plan they went with last week. I think, try and do what Jacksonville do, hide Foles as much as they possibly can and go with a power run game. They've got a line that's very good at doing it. The problem they've got is, man, this Vikings team plays the run well.
Yeah, I mean, even though they've got two rather large power backs, running on the Vikings ain't no easy task.
No, I mean, the Vikings were the number one run D in the NFL, and that translated last week when they played, for my money, the best rushing attack in the league with New Orleans. They managed to quieten that right down. I think they, particularly Ajayi's there's not much speed, and this Vikings team flies around the field. They've got great team speed, especially at that linebacker position. And because of Foles, let's say, issues passing the ball, this is the kind of game where we're going to see a lot of Harrison Smith up in the box. And when you're looking at, Kendricks, Barr, Smith in the box, it's going to be very difficult to find running lanes. It's going to have to be up the middle because they're not going to beat these guys to the outside. They just do not have the team speed to do it. So it's just going to have to be directly down the field. They have to do a good job controlling those defensive tackles. And then, maybe they can open things up because they do have some good wideouts there. Alshon Jeffrey came on strong over the course of the year. Turns out Nelson Aguilar actually is an NFL player. Zach Ertz had a great season. Torrey Smith is also present. I suppose he had a very quiet year.
Every once in a while he appears.
Yeah, and he's got the speed to blow the roof off the defense, as they say. So it's a varied group of weapons they've got in the passing game there in Philly. It's just, can Foles actually do anything with that? Now I expect the Vikings. I expect to see a lot of cover 3 from the Vikings. Because the thing is, this team reacts so well that they can have that safety down in the box, make it look like a blitz, play cover 3, react when it's a run play. They'll have their guys in position. I mean, against the run, they just do such a good job getting penetration. And when I think of LeGarrette Blount in particular, when he has a rough day, like he did last week, it is against these teams with a lot of speed who can get to him in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage before he builds up a head of steam. And similar with Ajayi. Ajayi's got a bit more wiggle to him. But I just think they can get these guys shut down. But I do think Foles will have some opportunities one-on-one on the outside. The problem is Jeffries is big target and, the safety blanket. But Xavier Rhodes is an exceptional corner. So I think you have to look at the other matchups. Perhaps Torrey Smith can get the better of Trey Waynes. It might come down to me. Aguilar in the slot is going to be where they're going to have to try and create some of these mismatches, because I don't trust them to play deep. The safety play that the Vikings produce on a weekly basis is top quality. Sendejo's an unheralded player. Harrison Smith, arguably the best safety in the league.
Well, you never know. The Eagles might come out hyper-aggressively and hope Foles replicates that record-tying game from a few seasons ago.
I think Foles needs to lean on Zach Ertz and Aguilar from the slot to try and open this defense up a little. The Vikings won't really change what they do. They kind of just line up on a weekly basis and they're like, right, we're just going to play a bit of man, some cover 2 and cover 3, and we'll just play it at a really high level. So it's going to be down to the Eagles to execute somewhere. And I know they're going to want to run it, and that's what they're going to do. We're going to see a lot of it. I haven't seen a team run successfully on the Vikings all year, basically. So I don't see why that would change now.
No, I think this is going to be a harder matchup for the Eagles than it's going to be the Vikings offensively.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a fairly similar approach from both teams. I'm expecting it to be low scoring and ugly. Could eat. The turnover battle is, of course, going to be key. I just, much like you said right at the start of this, I have to go with the Vikings simply because I actually have some confidence in Case Keenum as an NFL quarterback at this stage. Whereas Foles,
and he doesn't turn it over.
Not particularly often, although boneheaded turnover last week. That was awful. But yeah, I mean, Keenum's played well all year long. I just struggle to see Foles having much success at all against this Vikings team. And obviously the Vikings will be coming in. They'll both be coming in emotional, actually, after close victories last week.
Well, the funny thing is I kind of feel sorry for the Eagles. Because yet again, they're probably going to be denied another Super Bowl. I think if the Eagles faced any other team except the Vikings, they'd be a shoo-in, even with Foles.
Well, even if they were playing the Saints this week? No.
Yes.
You'd go with Foles over Drew Brees.
No, I'd go with that Eagles defense over the Saints.
Don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings. I've been pretty high on this Vikings team from the vast majority of the year. They're one of my few bandwagons I hopped on that actually worked out. Although I guess the Bills bandwagon did okay.
They got lucky.
Hey, they made the playoffs, so I got on that bandwagon pretty early. That was a successful year.
You're on the Bills bandwagon every bloody year. You live in eternal hope. You're a Bucks fan.
I like their uniforms.
Yes.
It does mean that we're one step closer to having the longest playoff drought in the league.
Yep.
But we don't have it, so we're fine.
But, I've got the Vikings, but I think this is going to be a much closer contest than the Jacksonville one.
Oh yeah, certainly. And frankly, as much as I say, it feels like the Vikings should win. I can still see a world where this is just like a 14-10 game or something along those lines, and the Eagles come out on top. I'm expecting a defensive slugfest. If either team can get a 2-digit lead, they probably win this game.
It is funny though. We are facing. We have got two teams in the NFC for the championship right now, who have eternally suffered heartbreak in the playoffs.
It's the Rams QB depth chart from a few years ago.
Yeah, and as I said, it's two of the most, two of the teams that have the most heartbreaking losses in both playoffs and Super Bowls.
Yeah, indeed. Someone's going to have a shot at rectifying all that in a few weeks.
Yeah, unless they face the Patriots, then that could be an issue.
Well, we'll discuss that when we get to it.
I mean, obviously, if you're the Eagles and the Vikings, after this game, depending who wins, going into the Super Bowl, man, you want to be playing Jacksonville. You do not want to be facing Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Actually, if I was the Eagles, I would rather face the Pats.
Why?
Nick Foles against that Jags D, no chance.
Blake Bortles versus that Eagles D.
Yeah, I mean, it would be an ugly Super Bowl. What can I say?
It would be an ugly Super Bowl.
But yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like the Eagles will just go face New England and try and do the same thing to them that Jacksonville are going to try and do to them this weekend, I figure.
Yeah, that's also the other problem, is facing New England means New England go from facing, what is currently the best pass rush in the league to one of two, pretty much second and third place pass rushing in the league. So, well,
I mean, what matchup do you want to see in the Super Bowl? Because I said at the beginning of the playoffs, Vikings Patriots was the one I thought would happen.
I want to see Vikings. I don't know. It's hard.
It's the one I want.
It's difficult because on one hand you've got the classic, you've got the rematch.
What the Pats? It's not really a rematch though when like none of the players other than Tom Brady were present the first time.
No, but I mean for the franchises it's a rematch and for the fans. But at the same time, Minnesota playing in Minnesota during the Super Bowl, I feel sorry for any team walking into that, even Tom Brady. I mean, we've heard loud stadiums, but Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they were pretty loud last week.
Yeah.
Bear in mind that would be more of a bipartisan crowd at a Super Bowl. You have a lot of, non-Vikings fans there.
I don't see non-Vikings fans. I see tickets selling out very quickly.
Well, of course, it's the Super Bowl, but you got to bear in mind how many corporate persons are at Super Bowls and contest winners and all kinds of stuff. So and Pats fans. So
the one game of the year Pats fans actually bothered to turn out for.
I don't think it will be quite as loud as that championship game. Not championship game, divisional game last week. If so, I'll be very impressed. And if the Vikings do make it, they kind of have to take the what was it, the 99-year-old lady that was there last year for the game last week. See that storyline?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. And her first Vikings game. She chose a good game to go to.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially the way it finished.
Yeah, at that age, that can't be a healthy ending. Damn.
Yeah, my team won, but it practically killed me.
Yeah. Right, well, we'll wrap it up there. Actually, no. The one bit of news I'm sure you want to talk about, the fact that Mike Munchak will not be the new Cardinals head coach.
Woo!
You happy about this one, huh?
Yeah.
It would have been as uninspiring a hire as I feel like you could have made.
And I've said this since the whole coaching tracking stuff started, as apparently, again, we seem to be the only people who remember names in the NFL. Munchak, 20-21 record with the Titans, did fuck all while he was there.
Maybe they should reach out to Kurt Warner to be the head coach.
Yes.
Nice enough chap.
Yes.
That convince Fitz to stay.
Yes. I 100% agree with this.
Yeah, there's no chance of it happening.
I would throw all the money in the world at this.
Oh, you're not the Bidwills, unfortunately.
I don't care. Or as a QB coach. Or as GM. Oh no, Steve Kime's our GM. I actually quite like him. I don't know. Warner for something. I don't know. Or Fitz retires and becomes head coach. Yes. Do that.
That would be funny.
That'd be amazing.
Alright, well, that is it for this week. So, as always, let us know. What do you guys think? Who do you see winning these games at the weekend? Do you see and winning it all in the grand scheme of things? As always, if you could like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon, it'd be greatly appreciated. Really do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Have a great evening and go Bucks.